Van Alstyne, Van Eyck, Van Dusen, and Van ten Broek date from that early period of Dutch migration. My family was part of that large Dutch migration that came to Canada in the aftermath of World War II. The story of my Dutch grandparents is my personal heritage moment, which I intend to share. And it's representative of the reason why May 5th deserves to be recognized as Dutch Heritage Day in Canada. My maternal grandparents, Arnoldus Jacobus Gallant and Eliza Huberdina Gallant-Thiessen, emigrated from Holland, arriving in Quebec City on May 15, 1952, with 10 children, the youngest but a few weeks old. They'd heard about life in Canada from friends and relatives who were already here. They said it was good, and my family was not disappointed. They found the people friendly from the very first, as Canada became home to all of them. The family was understandably nervous about uprooting their growing children to an unknown land. The different customs, the different languages, the different food. This experience is no different from what the current generation of immigrants to Canada are feeling today when they arrive in a new land. Those Dutch immigrants made a point of not clinging to old country ways, and their children saw to that. The children in the Gallant family quickly learned English, and more quickly than my grandparents. Now, most of the people in the Netherlands speak English. Today, the Netherlands ranks second after Switzerland for English proficiency among non-native speaking countries. Back in the 1950s, when they arrived, they learned from grade 1 readers, and my parents and their siblings were quick to correct their parents when they got a word or phrase wrong. My mother said she soon lost the taste for Dutch food too, and my grandmother learned to cook in the Canadian way. I don't think anyone can really put into words why a family immigrates. The Netherlands is known for farming and their special practices. Currently, it's the world's second largest agricultural exporter, with specialty crops like tulips, chicory, and sugar beets. Given the Netherlands' small land base and high population density, they have a plan to carefully maximize what they have. For example, a Dutch farmer cannot easily access a patch of land with machinery to cut hay, and if that's the case, he'll use that as pasture land for livestock. With Dutch farmers like my family, one of the main reasons they were attracted to Canada was that they wished to farm in the way this country does it. In Holland, they might have a farm of 20 acres, but it was broken up into many fields, far and distant from one another, and there was a constant moving of machinery from one area to another. Some of the fields were less than an acre in size. In Holland, the house and stables are all under one roof, with the living quarters being quite separate. The animals were not in the house, but the house and barns were connected. The building was 100 feet long and 30 feet wide. And during the Second World War, more than 100 German soldiers and their officers billeted themselves at my grandparents' home. War is always a frightening time. As their home was near the German border and the Allied forces were firing on the German troops just over the border, they were right in the middle of a war zone. The night one of my aunts was born, grenades and bullets filled the sky, and it was too risky for anyone to bicycle to bring the midwife. Someone went on foot for her, and my Aunt Nellie was born in the basement of the home. One evening in early January 1945, the Germans nailed notices on all the doors in Velden, the area of Holland where my grandparents are from. It said they were to evacuate their homes in the morning. They walked and rode in carts to a town in Germany and were put on a train. My aunt said there was horse manure in the cars and no seats or windows, and no one knew where they were going. In addition to my grandparents and their children, they'd been giving shelter to 3 other families who'd lost their homes and were all evicted from the home. They were taken to Groningen in northern Netherlands, where they were billeted in homes. There were 7 in the family, too many to be placed with one family, so the family was split up, which was very hard on everyone. Ordered by the German soldiers to leave their home and relocate in Northern Ireland, my grandparents returned months later to find their home in shambles. It was empty and dirty, and everything had been taken, even the sewing machine. The spirit which carried them through wartime deprivations and worry may well have been the factor contributing toward tremendous feeling of unity in the family and the desire to seek a fresh start in a place like Canada. My grandparents left Holland for Canada with 10 children and the allowable only $200 to their name. The ship the family was piled into was the SS Waterman. It was a troop transport ship from the war, complete with bunk beds, which they had to share. There were 4 in one cabin and 9 females in another cabin. And my mother remembered being seasick the whole time. They landed in Quebec City. She remembers through the eyes of a child a big glass building and getting on a train. The train took the family from Quebec City to Thamesville. They had no food on the train. My grandfather bought loaves of white sliced bread at a train stop. They'd never had sliced bread before. Their Uncle Ben, who'd been in Canada, met the family at the train station in Thamesville, Ontario. He brought the new arrivals to his old 2-story house. His family lived at the back of the house, my mother's family at the front. The school was hard because they didn't know the language. Their clothes were different, and they had no money. But working industriously together, by 1961, my grandparents were able to purchase a 100-acre farm of their own, and the children were expected to help on the farm after school and holidays. And everyone received an equal education. And from there, the family has prospered, and several generations later. Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity to speak to this motion.
Resuming debate, the honourable member for Ottawa West Nepean.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I'd like to thank the member for Chatham-Kent-Leamington for bringing this motion to the floor of the House. It is a tremendous pleasure for me to speak in favour of the motion to create May 5th as Dutch Heritage Day